Hi cookie friends, welcome back to Lights Camera Cookies. So today we are going to be making a very easy, fun beginner set of birthday cookies. We have 6 different cookies. It's going to be 2 different types of cakes, a birthday plaque, a balloon, a cupcake, and a party hat. Now of course you can make these any colors that you would like. I chose some fun blues, greens, and yellows. That was my color palette. You can do any color you want. And also, I want to point out that I do these cookie decoratings with glaze icing as opposed to a royal icing. So, without further ado, let's get started on how to make these super cute cookies that are perfect for any birthday occasion. Alright, so this cookie cutter has to be one of my favorites for a birthday. It is adorable, especially for a first birthday, because there is one perfectly placed candle. I think this is just so cute. So I started with my white glaze icing and I'm outlining it. So this is your flood line, your barrier line. So you want to outline your cookie so when you come in and you flood the cookie with the rest of your icing, it doesn't fall off the edges. So that's what's going on here. You're also going to notice that I'm using a piping bag that doesn't have a tip. There's those metal tips that are numbered different sizes. They can make different designs. I have decided over the years to completely stop using tips. They would get clogged or they just weren't as easy to work with. It was something extra to clean at the end of the day. So I started to use tipless piping bags. Now, my icing came out a pretty good consistency. It was not too runny, not too thick, not too hard to pipe out of the tip here. You're going to notice that my tip is actually, it was a little bit too small. I actually had to cut it to make it a little bit bigger because the icing was just not coming out as easily as I wanted it to. So with these tipless piping bags, the smaller the hole, the better, the less chance of air bubbles. The smaller the hole, the bubbles are popping as it's coming out. So the less chance of bubbles and things like that. But it does get a little bit harder to, squeeze that out. Oh, there we go. I cut the tip right here because it was a little bit too hard for me. So this is my favorite part, I think, of cookie decorating is that nice, relaxing, flooding fill. I love watching videos of cookie floods. It's interesting though, because all of the videos, that I post, they're sped up. They're crazy sped up, like 20 times the speed. So this is actually what it looks like to decorate a cookie or to flood a cookie in real time. We're going on, I don't know, maybe a minute 40 so far of flooding this cookie. All right, so that is all set. Now I use a scribe tool. That's my scribe tool. It's so cute. It's just a little tool you can use, a toothpick, anything with a little point that can pop bubbles, or it can push your icing to the ends of the cookies to make sure that there's no space between your flood line and your actual flooding. I let this cookie set for 24 full hours. I wanted it to be super dry. I came in with my teal icing. I thought it was a really pretty color. And I stiffened this glaze icing up with powdered sugar as well as with some Crisco. The Crisco kind of just helps it to come out of the bag easier, a little bit smoother. If you load up your glaze icing to make it stiffer just with powdered sugar, it's going to be really difficult to get out of the bag. So if you add some Crisco in there, it makes it a little bit smoother. So I wanted to make like those really popular drip cakes, so I made a drip cake cookie here. And I thought that was fun. And you can see my icing is stiffer because it's not moving, it's not spreading. If it was a thin icing, it would be spreading all over the cookie, and that is not what we want. All right, so now I chose an orange glaze for my candle. And I outlined it, and right away I'm gonna go in and flood the little candle. And if you notice, I used the same consistency icing as the outline as I did with the flood. It was a pretty, well-made consistency icing. I know sometimes I will make 2 different consistencies, super hard for the outline and then really soft for the flood. The more that I can minimize the extra steps, I will do that, and that's what makes this a little bit easier. So as soon as that icing was put on there, I went right in with my green. The green kind of sinks in, so when you just do an icing, it's wet, right? And then if you go in with another icing immediately after, it's wet on wet. So the green will actually sink right into that orange, as opposed to that white icing on the cake with the blue on top, that's raised. All right, I made my flame. And I think the cookie was cute like this, but I wanted to add some little decorations. So I did some swirls. You could do whatever you want here. Just want to make sure that this icing for these little details are stiffer. If the icing was the consistency of the white that I used to fill, it would spread and not hold its shape. So you just want to add some more powdered sugar, maybe a little bit of Crisco if it's too hard to get out of your piping bag. All right, this is coming very cute. And anytime that I can use some like dimensional elements in my icing, I will. So I love this. I wanted to use the same type of tip that you would use on an actual cake. So I believe this was a 20 star tip. And now my icing was significantly sturdy. So that was, again, that sugar and that Crisco. And pipe that on. And how cute did that turn out? Okay, next one. The balloon. Probably the easiest cookie in this entire set here. Kind of an afterthought here. It looks a little bit like a goldfish. I get it. I made it goldfish orange, and it looks like it has a little tail. But I just outlined it with my glaze icing, let it set for 30 seconds, and came right back in with my glaze, and I started to fill it. And you can see my icing is a very nice consistency. It's not running all over the place. It's not too stiff. My fingers are not turning white trying to get that icing out of the bag. And you know what? If you just go back and forth like this, I always imagine I'm a printer printing out an image. So you just go back and forth, and you're really making this easier on yourself. The slower you can, fill in these cookies, take your time, you're filling it in perfect almost right away. All right, so we're all set there. I'm pushing the icing around with my piping bag a little bit, but then I did want to come back in with my scribe tool because I noticed there might be a little bit of bubbles. I just wanted to really make sure that I made the correct shape for this balloon. So you can see I'm like spreading it to the edge a little bit because I didn't do my outline just perfect. So your scribe tool can help push the icing along and help you get that desired shape you want. So my favorite part of the balloons is the shine lines. I didn't wait. Once this icing was wet, I put on my white icing, so that was wet on wet technique, and I made some cute shine lines. And now we've got goldfish balloon. Okay, this is another one of, everything's my favorite, but this is another one of my favorites, the cupcake. I think the cupcake is such a fun cookie cutter to have on hand. You can use it for literally anything. Birthday parties, holidays, you want a Halloween cupcake, make it black and orange. You want a Christmas cupcake, make it green and red. It's just so much fun. All right, so I use this pretty teal color and I outlined it. Of course, I'm flooding it. There we go. Maybe this is going to be a nice relaxing flood. Let's see, how did I do? Okay, yeah, this is a good one. All right, so I'm just going to speed this flood up a little bit for you. All right, so I'll make it 4 times the speed. There we go. If only I could actually do it that fast. That would be fantastic. All right, so I let that set. I actually let it set for 24 hours. I did this the next day, and I'm going to come in with my white glaze icing, and I'm going to outline the frosting. And I'm doing it in sections. This is how I designed my cupcake. You could, of course, outline the whole thing and flood in the whole thing with white. I wanted to do sections as if you were seeing the layers of swirl on an actual cupcake. All right, so I made 3 different sections here, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill in the middle section because I'm going to fill in each one section by section so there's a separation of the icing. You can see that there's 3 different sections. So I'm going to do the middle one first, and I'm going to place some sprinkles on there and let that dry fully before I come in and I fill in the other 2 sections. All right, so I've got my glaze icing all set up there, and I've got some fun sprinkles. Of course, you could use whatever kind of sprinkles you like, but I have these really fine, like needle nose tweezers. I was going to say Twizzlers. What am I thinking? Tweezers. I have these really fine point tweezers that I can get the sprinkles on. Now you could completely just dump the sprinkles on there, but I like to place them and be purposeful about where they're going on the cookie. All right, so now this blue ice or this teal icing is dry, so you have to make like those cupcake liner lines, right? Just to make it look a little bit more fun and whimsical. So I'm gonna outline that. I did stiffen this icing a little bit to make sure that these lines really held their shape. So again, I stiffened it with my powdered sugar and some Crisco. You know, that Crisco is also really great, especially when like the point of the tip is so tiny. It is really hard sometimes to get stiffer icing out of that. All right, so now that middle icing has set. I let it set for about a half an hour. I was doing other, things with cookies, so it had about a half an hour set. And I came in and I'm going to pipe in the bottom as well. And I don't know if you can tell because of the lighting here, but there really are 3 distinct layers to this cupcake frosting now, which I really like. I like that effect. And I'm going to take my tweezers, not Twizzlers. I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm going to place on some more sprinkles. I don't want to be too perfect with it because you figure when sprinkles get, placed on a cupcake, they're kind of just tossed and they land how they land. But I didn't want to just dump a whole bunch because I couldn't control that. So at least I can control it with my tweezers and make it look fun. Another fun thing to do is you could also pipe like a cherry right on top, or like bigger ball sprinkle. That would be cute. Little cherry on top. Okay. This cookie cutter I use a lot for weddings because it looks like a wedding cake, but I love making it for any other event. So birthdays, heck yes, I would like this cake for my birthday cake. It's so much fun. All right, so I, of course, outlined it with my glaze icing, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to flood it. I also want to point out here, you might notice that I outline it once, and then I outline it again with a thicker line. You do not have to do this. I've found that this is something that really works for me. I outline it once, then I create that thicker line, and then my little printer motion in here going back and forth, I'm putting the icing to that thicker line, which ultimately will push it towards the thinner line. Why do I do this? The icing doesn't fall over. It's not leaking down the sides of the cookie. I just feel like this works for me. I don't know if it will work for you, but usually I tend to outline it and then come in and have a thicker flood outline. And then when I actually flood the cookie, you can see, I'm just pushing it. So like right here, I'm pushing that to the end using that bigger line that I created. I hope that makes sense. I feel like what I'm saying is so silly sounding, but that's what I do. So over here, I'm just using that bigger line that I made to help push the icing. This is like mesmerizing. I really do love watching this. What do you guys think? Do you like watching these videos? Like, I think that they're super relaxing to watch, especially when they're a little bit sped up. But this is my favorite part. And also when I'm doing this, because I was like a 2.5 minute flood I'm doing, I always have something playing in the background. I usually watch some kind of YouTube video, or I'll put on Amazon Prime. I just have something always going on in the background. Or music. Never hurts to sing along. I never want you to hear me sing though. It's not pretty. Okay, so now we are done with the flood of this cookie. And I'm going to come in Oh, I let it set. I'm sorry. I let it set for a full 24 hours. The next day I came back in with my teal icing and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pipe those drip lines, which I just love this. And I'm going to do it for each tier. So the first tier will have the blue lines, and then you're going to see, I'm going to speed it up, but I'm going to do the same thing for the middle tier and the bottom tier. Okay, and I'm going to follow suit with the other cake cookie that I made. I'm gonna do the drip lines, I put some little dots on there, and then I've got my tweezers and I'm going to place the sprinkles. I really love having, I mentioned dimension before, like something that, you know, pops off the cookie. And I also love putting sprinkles on cookies. I think it's so much fun, especially on these dessert type cookies. Now, I also want to point out on the bottom, I did not so hot of a job with, I thought I was doing something cool, turned out to not be at all. I started to pipe green at the bottom. I realized that what I was doing was just incorrect. I didn't have the right consistency icing. I didn't have, you know, I should have used an actual tip for this. So I wasn't really happy with what that turned out to be. Didn't like that. So easy fix, I stiffened up my icing with the Crisco and the powdered sugar, and I came in and I did that same design that I did on the first cake cookie with that star tip. And now this has made it elevated and fun. And that design is really easy to do, so don't be intimidated by that. It's very easy. And you see at the end I had that little pointy? We don't want that. So I just use my scribe tool and push that down. All right, the birthday hat is so sweet. I think this is so cute. So I chose orange to outline and fill. And I do want to say that in hindsight, I realized that I made my orange and my yellow a little bit too similar. So if I could redo this entire set, I would, and I would make a clearer distinction between orange and yellow, which brings me to a point about icing colors. When you dye the icing, please know that in 24 hours, whatever the icing color is, it is most likely going to darken. So I was happy with this orange color, but when I dyed the yellow, I put in too much dye. At the time of dyeing it, I thought it was the correct color. When I waited, 24 hours before starting this whole project, I realized that, oh shoot, my yellow actually darkened more than I thought, and now my yellow looks a little bit orange. So that's just a tip in general when dyeing icing colors. Just know it's probably going to deepen in color overnight. So keep that in mind, especially if you're doing something like I am, where two colors have the tendency to be a little bit similar. That could happen. So just something to note about the icing colors. All right, so that is all filled now, and I let that dry for 24 hours and came in with my thicker teal icing. And I wanted to make those like iconic party hat lines. I don't know, do people still wear party hats? I don't know, I just think they're the cutest thing. I don't know when the last time I honestly wore a party hat was, but I think they're fun, and they're a lot of fun for a cookie set. All right, so now I'm gonna come in with my second color, which, you know what? This is exactly what I talked about. I honestly can't tell the difference between that second color line and what I have on on the party hat. One of them is orange and one of them is yellow, and I think what I'm typing right now is yellow, maybe. So please remember about the icing colors. That was my mistake, but I actually think it came out quite cute. I did want a little bit more distinction between, this is an orange hat and this is a yellow frill at the bottom. But you know what? I think it still came out quite cute. And I used the same tip to make that little pom-pom party hat topper. And this actually came out really cute despite my color differences. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up just by ×2. So this is a plaque cookie cutter. I think this plaque is really nice and versatile and fun. I've used this for baby showers, for weddings, now birthdays. I've used it to draw a character on. I think it's a really fun plaque. All right, so of course I filled that with my flood outline, and I'm going to come back in all printer style, back and forth, and flood this. I think I actually had to cut the tip of the bag a little bit more because I made it a little bit too small. All right, there we go. Looking nice, looking nice. And you see how I'm like wiggling the icing when I get to the edges sometimes? You can totally do that. It also helps prevent having to use the scribe tool sometimes, and you can just work a little bit smarter and not harder. Oh, but there's my scribe tool anyway. I guess there were bubbles I had to pop there. All right, so now I have all of my icing colors stiffened from the previous cookies, and that allowed me to have all of these different options to write happy birthday. So I decided to freehand this. I was pretty confident that I could freehand it and center it all correctly. In other videos that I've posted with these tutorials, I've mentioned that I do have a projector, a really great projector, which I can put in the description below. I think it's a wonderful projector because it can be really close to the cookie and it's still crisp and clear. I also have a stand for it, so you know that way it's easy for me to manipulate it. Along with that, you just plug that projector right into your computer and you can go on Word and you can find a font that you like and you can trace it. There's also a really cool website called Dafont, DAFONT.com, and that has a bunch of different fonts that you can choose from if you are, you know, looking for a different way to write something, if you don't want to just do script, or if you have or are looking for help with how to properly write in script or bubble letters or whatever it is. That projector is a really good tool, and you know, to be able to plug it right into your computer and to use it that way, I think it's a really great idea. All right, so I've got happy birthday going on here. So I did all caps for the first, and then I chose to write birthday all in green in some kind of made up font that I created today out of my head. Not quite script, I don't even know what this is, but I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. All right, so we've got happy birthday. You have complete creative freedom here to write it however you want. I think that came out very fun, but I do want to outline it, and this teal was my favorite color of the entire set, so I'm gonna nicely, carefully outline that. I think that outlining your plaque cookies also really just adds another pop of fun. I feel like it made this come to life a little bit more. I mean, you don't have to outline it, you know, it looked very nice just the way that it was. But just for fun, I mean, it's a birthday. We should have some fun. We should get crazy and outline our cookies for the birthday. All right, very nice outline. You can really see the shape, appreciate that cookie cutter shape. And then, of course, I wanted to add some little dots or squiggles. You could add anything. You could add more sprinkles in here. You could really do just about anything you like. And I think that this is just enough to be fun and happy. Oh, I really liked this set. And I hope that you enjoyed watching how these were made. Please let me know if you like this set, what colors you would have used, if you would have done any designs differently. Also, please let me know if you make these, if this was helpful to you, or if you have any questions. I'm happy to help all the time. Just drop those questions in the comments below. And I will see you next time, cookie friends. Bye!